I know some people are new here and are interested to learn more about what we do. And at heart, 10 Capital, we help startups and investors connect for funding. We've been doing this for 15 years. We originally started in 2009 under the name Texas Entrepreneurs Network. My background is I started 3 angel networks in Texas. I started CTAN here in Austin in 2006 and the Baylor Angel Network in 2007 and the Wilco Angel Network in 2008. Had more fun doing that than my day job, so I retired in 2009 and started doing this work because I wanted to get back to the early stage companies. I was in a big company and it was all about budgets and forecasts, and it was not so interesting. So we put this program together to help startups and investors connect for funding because I believed in entrepreneurship and innovation. Next slide. So in general, we help foster the entrepreneur ecosystem. We help form capital, and we do this by helping high net worth start family offices. Found the virtual family office came up and into its own during the pandemic, and we do that because family offices fund emerging managers. We also help VC funds find limited partners, mostly high net worth and family offices, and we do that through our panels like the ones we do in New Mexico. Third is we have angel groups, which we help them find members. So we have them come out for our events and do dinner events to help get them into an angel group because we found that individual investors do better if they're part of a group than if they're by themselves. Next slide. So we have 3 online events a month. We have a 10 pitch and match event that we do each month. That's for tech deals. We have a life science syndicate. This is the one we're in today. And we have investor education series, which is agnostic. We take all kinds of companies in there. And then we have in-person events that we're doing around the country. We just got back from Houston and we're on our way out to LA next month for our next one. If you want to learn more about our events, go to 10capital.group and click on the events button and you'll see more about what's coming up. Next slide. For everyone here is already in the program or, in one way or another, but for those who are not, we have them take a picture of that QR code and fill out the form and we can talk to them to see if this program is a good fit for them. Next slide. We'll give you a survey at the end. We do take the survey responses seriously and act on everything we get. So we look forward to your feedback on today's program. Next slide. We have a chat bot. We have a program called Investor Connect, which is a podcast program, has over 850 interviews with angel, VC, family office, and other investors on how they invest and what they invest in the early stage market. We also have the Startup Funding Espresso. The time it takes to drink an espresso, you can learn something about startup funding and investing. It's a 300-word micro blog post plus about a 2-minute video audio that we use. We've taken all that content and put inside an AI chatbot called Ava, and let's listen to more about how it works.
Personal AI venture assistant. I'm your new best friend in the world of investing in startups, the 10 Capital AI chatbot. I'm here to make your journey through the startup ecosystem easier, faster, and a lot more fun. Need help finding your next big investment? Or maybe you're a founder looking for fundraising tips? I've got you covered. I pull all my knowledge from over 500 blogs, countless podcasts, and even some nifty calculators, like the How Fundable Is Your Startup tool, to give you the answers you need. So how do I work? Easy. You simply go to where I live on startupfundingespresso.com and look for me in the bottom right. As soon as I appear, go ahead and click on me to let me know you're here. And then there you go. All your questions answered at your fingertips. Whether you're into health tech, biotech, life sciences, or any of the other exciting fields out there, I'm equipped to help you navigate the trends, challenges, and opportunities in each one. Got a question? Just ask. And guess what? I even pull insights from the 10 Capital Network podcast on Investor Connect. It's packed with expert advice, success stories, and more, all designed to help you succeed in the venture capital world. So what are you waiting for? Let's chat. I'm here 24/7 to help you find the right answers, connect with great opportunities, and make the most out of your investments. See you on startupfundingespresso.com.
Great. And with that, let's go meet our panelists today. We have 4 of them with us. First up is George Spencer. George, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your fund?
We are. Okay, I'm sitting in the dark too. Anyway, my name is George Spencer. I'm with Sand Capital. I've been in the venture business up here in Chicago for about 35 years. I invest in reasonably early stage software businesses. I call it venture growth. Typically, after a company's got a couple of customers up and rolling, I'm able to invest in it. So, anyway, that's what I do, and we've had a really nice run here. Although the last 5 years has been a little more stressful than I think anybody bargained for. So.
Understood. Great. Thanks for joining us today. Next up is Bonnie Beeman. Bonnie, can you tell us about yourself and your group?
Well, hi. Thanks for inviting me to the program today. I appreciate that. So my name is Bonnie Beeman. I'm an investor and also an entrepreneur. So my investments are currently with the Seattle Angel Fund up in Seattle. Fund number 1 is what I was in starting in 2015. That fund is actually still active, about ready to close down. And then I run a private family office. So those are my investing, and I do a lot of big capital analysis and strategy for companies that are looking at doing multi-million-dollar investments for specifically high tech. So my background is wireless, hardware specifically, and looking at today's broadcast television, which is moving into a new technology space. So my entrepreneurial side is that I raised money for the startup that I own called Airwaves.tv through the National Association of Broadcasters. And so I have both sides of the table understood and looking to see what we have today. Looking forward to meeting some of these CEOs and seeing their products. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Bonnie. Next up is Steve Shapiro. Steve, can you tell us about yourself and your group?
Hi. So I'm located in Bethesda, Maryland, and I'm a founding partner of eHealth Ventures. We primarily focus on digital health, early stage companies, and we have run an incubator, which is a 2-year program. And we invest along with, it's based in Israel, and the government of Israel participates with us. Once our companies graduate, we kind of pick the winners and we'll keep our equity stake and we'll work with them. And we'll help them raise additional capital, plus we'll put in more capital. We built a strong worldwide ecosystem, including the Mayo Clinic, Amgen, to help support our portfolio companies. And I'm proud that RespirAI is one of my portfolio companies.
Great. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. And then we have a partner, Matt Weathergreen. Matt, can you tell us more about yourself and your group?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm at Rice University in the Department of Bioengineering. I am the director of the Master of Bioengineering programs. We have 2 flavors of Masters of Bioengineering. The first is called Applied, and it is perfect for students who are looking to go into lab or benchtop research or go on to get a PhD or an MD. The second program is called Global Medical Innovation, or GMI, and that's a 1-year professional master's that prepares students to enter the medical device industry. They start in Costa Rica, Kenya, Ireland, or Brazil, working for a med device company or doing clinical observations. They do 2 projects over the year, one that's business and one that's engineering. They pitch in local business plan competitions, and they go to design competitions in the spring. Thanks for having me here.
Great. Thanks for joining us. So our first company up will be RespirAI. Each company will have 10 minutes to pitch. We'll time it. At the end, we'll go around the room and ask for your questions. We'll just call them out and talk about it. At the very end of today's session, we'll go around and ask if there's anybody you want to follow up with for more information or to have a discussion about investing. But we'll do that at the end. So with that, let's have Nimrod come up. Nimrod, can you launch your slides and kick off when ready?
So thank you all for the introduction. Thank you for inviting us to present. I'm Nimrod Ben-Nun. I'm the co-founder and CEO of RespirAI Medical, and we aim to revolutionize the way chronic respiratory patients monitor and control their diseases at home. So all of you know different kind of respiratory diseases. We're talking about over $1 billion over 1 billion patients suffering from chronic respiratory diseases, and familiar with asthma, with cystic fibrosis, lung cancer is becoming a chronic disease these days. And the biggest and the most complicated disease is a disease called COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is a progressive lung condition that develops in lifelong smokers. We call it the smoker's disease. 20% of the smokers and ex-smokers will suffer from the disease. The smoking actually damaged the airways of these patients, causing frequent flare-ups, airways blockage, repeated hospitalizations, and unfortunately, eventually the death of these people. So we're talking about over 500 million patients suffering from the disease. It's the fourth leading cause of death. It's the fourth leading cause of hospitalization, with over 700,000 hospitalizations a year in the US alone, and the top 5 most expensive diseases, which cause to over $200 billion in direct and indirect costs. Now, imagine yourself that you are COPD patients, lifelong smokers, as I mentioned. We are afraid to leave the house, know that you are suffering from the disease, but don't know what is the current conditions of their disease, don't know when you will face another exacerbation or flare-up, and don't know when you will have to refer to the hospital. And what if we could change your story? What if by measuring very simple physiological parameters, we'll be able to provide you early alerts and improve dramatically your quality of life? This is exactly what we're doing. So RespirAI, we are developing a home monitoring platform that helps COPD patients and care teams to passively predict and prevent exacerbations. And by then, we improve dramatically the management of the disease at home. We reduce the hospitalizations and provide cost-saving benefits to the healthcare system. And most importantly, we save the patients' lives. Our platform is divided into 3 main parts. So first, we are measuring very basic physiological parameters by using off-the-shelf FDA-approved sensors, which includes chest patches, smartwatches, in the future also smart rings. We are collecting this information. The information is going to the cloud, where the heart and the brain of our platform is sitting. And we're talking about an AI-based patented algorithm, which licensed from US University. We know how to analyze this information and to provide the status, presenting the status, most updated status of the disease, and the prediction before the next hospitalization. And this information is going back to the patients through a mobile application, which we are developing, and a dashboard application for the caregivers, which can see and analyze the situation. Till today, we had 2 major clinical trials. In the last one, we managed to present our performance of our algorithm, which showed that we can predict the changes in the patient's conditions, the flare-ups, the exacerbations, even 2 weeks before hospital admission, which allowed the clinical team to step in earlier. And by providing very simple antibiotics or steroids, a solution for the patients that can reduce dramatically the severity of the flare-up, and to keep these patients at home and save them from hospitalization and save their lives. Today, we have 2 ongoing programs. The first one is in collaboration with the Right at Home, which is a big home care company sitting in Nebraska. Also, our headquarters is based in Nebraska. We are collaborating with them with the target to early detect exacerbations and avoid the hospitalization. A few months ago, we won a Bird Foundation grant, and which fund most of the clinical trial expenses. And Right at Home is our collaboration partner, strategic partner, which will launch the product to the market. The second one is in collaboration with Mayo Clinic. A pilot study already started with the target to reduce the readmission rates following minimal invasive procedure in COPD patients. There is a huge potential of saving over $600 million in the US alone on readmission rates, and this is a huge burden for the hospitals today. And both, we are talking about a B2B2C model. We can using existing RPM, remote patients monitoring CPT codes, with a quite flexible business model. All of them is being, all of the information is actually gathered, as I mentioned before, on a dashboard and a mobile application which provide the real-time information to these patients. Which also allow them to, these patients, it's a 360 overall solution, which provide them not only the information about the current status of the disease, but also educational information about the disease, a way to communicate with the caregivers, with the doctors, and of course, as we plan, a platform that provide the medical alerts. So if you're looking on our estimated Gantt, we are planning to launch our first product, the mobile application and dashboard, early next year in the US. And then we are working in parallel on two pilot studies, one with the Mayo Clinic and one with Right at Home, in order to get the regulatory approval for these alert system, and plan to launch them to the market somewhere in middle to end 2027. Today, there is no solution that can provide this kind of alerts, and no solution that can show the actual status of the disease. Most of the hospitals are using questionnaires. There are nurses that calling these patients once, twice a week, asking them about the current situation. The accuracy is very low, the adherence is very low, and it costs a lot of money to the healthcare system. There are also some other biomarkers, blood-based biomarker, inflammatory biomarkers, different type of spirometry devices, which are extremely hard for COPD patients to use. And all of these are active solutions which provide very low accuracy and adherence. We are talking about a passive solution which provide the alerts on time and very accuracy. COPD is only our first indication. We are also evaluating the potential of our platform in other chronic respiratory diseases like asthma and lung cancer, and also in different heart diseases, as well as other wellness applications. And we are also evaluating potential collaboration with pharma companies. We are a global company. We have an R&D center in Israel with a local office in Nebraska, US, and with the potential and with strategic partners also in Europe. We have clinicians all around the world and state-of-the-art scientific advisory and supported PIs. We are planning to launch, as I mentioned, our product in 2026 and to reach to almost $200 million by 2031, with multiple potential acquirers, starting from the home care companies to the medical devices company, pharmaceutical companies, smartwatches like Apple, Samsung, which are developing the hardware and are looking for a solution like ours as in applications and more. And to date, we raised $4.4 million, around half equity and half non-dilutive funding. Our main investors are Invest Nebraska and eHealth Ventures, as Steve mentioned before. Today, we are in the middle of our A round, which is first closing of $2.5 million planned for the end of this year. Already have a soft commitment of $1 million from our existing shareholders, with a pre-money valuation of $12 million. That's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Great presentation, Nimrod. Let's go around the room and ask each person for their questions. Matt, what questions would you have for Nimrod?
Yeah, I'm interested in how you said that COPD is your first indication. What new sensors might you need to add if you're going with different indications in the future?
It's an excellent question. We are using, for our algorithm, we are using very basic physiological parameters. We're using ECG and movement. In other indications like asthma, we might use also the SpO2 measurement. We realize that in COPD, specifically in our indication, the SpO2 do not provide an accuracy or do not improve our performance. But in other indications like asthma, lung cancer, and others, SpO2 might work. We are using it as a smart ring, smartwatch, etc. But in general, we are planning to be a sensor agnostic, so we can use, today we're using smartwatches of different companies and chest patches, so we're evaluating multiple other sensors as well.
Thank you.
Great. And George, what questions do you have?
I recognize that it's still kind of early, but when you start dividing up that, whatever it's going to be, 40 or 60 bucks a month in the remote patient monitoring revenue, I mean, what part of that do you assume you're getting, and what part of it do you assume the home healthcare company's getting?
So our model is divided in, I mean, we are dividing the revenue between several, let's just, entities. So first there is the home care company, which is a right at home provider services. The home care company has the call center, which provide the support, technical support. And we are also as part of this as a licensor or as a part of service providers. In general, the model is talking about, we are using the RPM, we're planning to use the RPM codes, which is around $1,000 per patients per month, per year, sorry. And the share is divided almost half between us and the home care company. Depends on the specific indication, it depends on the type of solution that we are providing. But this is in general.
Are you running the data center and the dashboard and collecting all the data and everything else, and you're just more or less spiffing the home care company the 40 bucks, right, a month?
Yes. So we are providing all the services that you mentioned, and the home care company is providing the access to the patients and the technical support.
So what do you think your margins are on that $40?
Our models are talking about 60 to 70% margin based on the existing RPM codes, and from our let's say previous experience, we can see that these RPM codes actually increasing, and the payments for them are increasing. Just a few months ago, we got another increase of these payments, so we believe that will be improved also by the lower cost of the clouds, which is our main cost here. The cloud analysis machines are the main cost of goods sold.
Thank you.
Great. Next is Bonnie. Bonnie, what's your questions?
All right. Well, I've got two questions. So, the home health care is a big deal, right? People are really interested in this topic. So, one of the things that I'm looking at as an investor is the advancement of humanoid robots, and robots really taking over home health care. It might apply to one of the other companies that's going to be presenting today, so I'll ask it here, just get started. But the question is, Nimrod, you've got humanoid robots that will come into the home most likely in the next 10 years and start taking care of people, and they're going to have Wi-Fi, and they're going to have internet access to their thinking and to their thoughts. And so have you thought about over the next 10 years where your company might go when home health care is not going to be more human, but more humanoid robot based?
Yeah, actually, we are talking about our main, let's say, the main problem with these type of patients is the care team, caregivers. These patients are living alone, very hard for them to control their diseases, very hard for them to monitor the diseases and to get the right solutions on time. Once they will have the services that you are describing are replacing their caregivers and can help us a lot to penetrate our product to the market and to reach to these type of patients that currently do not have the access to these kind of solutions. So these kind of solutions are not replacing ours, they're replacing the existing home services, home care services, and they are only can improve and increase our penetration to the market and to reach to additional populations that are not reachable.
Right. So thanks for that answer. Then the next question I would have is that if the device provides diagnostic or clinical information, then FDA oversight is required, which means the device that you have is going to have FDA approval. Have you thought about that? I didn't see it in your financials.
Yes, of course. So actually, what you saw that the main part of our sales will start at 2020, late 2027, beginning of 2028. We are planning, and this is why we will launch the two main products towards the middle to the end of 2027. We are currently in a process of pilot studies in the two programs. We will start our regulatory validation study at middle 2026, and hopefully we'll get the regulatory approval, both of them in the de novo pathway towards the middle to the end of 2027, where the sales will ramp up. So we are the first product, the dashboard and mobile application that we are planning to launch next year is going to be what we call regulatory free. We are not going to provide any kind of alerts, just providing information without the recommendations. In order to get the recommendation, we will get to the regulatory pathways and we'll get the regulatory approvals.
Okay, so I thought, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I thought I heard you say that you were going to launch in 2026. Did I misunderstand that?
Yes, but this is the mobile application without the alerts feature. The alert feature is required the regulatory approval, which will be ready at 2027. So we'll see in our financial projection, small amount of sales just for the mobile application without the alerts, but the sales will ramp up towards the end of 2027 once we'll get the regulatory approval.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And Steve Shapiro, what questions do you have?
Two. With the clinical studies, when will you get feedback, and do you plan on additional clinical studies? That's one question. Then I have another.
So actually, we have we just finished our let's say first clinical study in Israel, and we have very promising results from that trial. We started a pilot study to present and to make sure that the results are repeatable with all the features, including the call center and the CRO and everything. And we'll get the two, one pilot study with Mayo already started. We'll have the answers, initial results at the beginning of the year. And the second, probably by the second quarter of 2026. And then we'll initiate two validation studies for the regulatory approvals.
Okay, thank you. The last question is, I'm glad to see an exit strategy. And there's two paths you can take with the exit. You know, one is once you're, you know, have revenue and hopefully, you know, positive cash flow and to build from there. Another is when you really develop the technology, you validated it, and you know, to exit at that point. Maybe it's a little premature, but have you thought about that in the exit strategy?
Yes, we thought about it, and I agree with both of your strategies. So first, we believe that in 2028 we should be break even, and then we'll be attractive for the medical devices companies and more. But if we are targeting different type of companies, like the smartwatch companies, like Apple, Samsung, Garmin, which are looking for these kind of applications, we believe that an exit can happen once we'll present our applications and once we'll present the accuracy and the clinical results. So they are looking for FDA approved applications, and once we'll get this approval in 2027, they will be interested. And we already started discussing with some of these companies, and we believe that it can be much earlier. And at the end, it depends on the target acquirer. So both of your the strategy that you mentioned are applicable, and just depends on the target.
Thank you, Nimrod.
Great. That's our 10 minutes. Thanks so much for great questions and great answers, Nimrod. Let's move to our next presenter, NtelCare. Steve, if you want to kick off your slides and launch when you're ready.
that. My name is Steve Keys. I am the founder and CEO of NtelCare, based here in Fort Worth, Texas. You're going to learn about NtelCare as we focus on transforming a relatively reactive care model in the senior living space to a predictive or proactive care model. And I'll share with you how we'll do that. Our focus today is assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing. I heard the comment earlier about home care, and that's not far behind. In fact, it's quite close. And I'll share with you what we're doing there. When we talk about the problem, it's not that our aging population is increasing significantly. And one quick statistic I'll share is there's approximately 11,000 individuals a day for the next 20 years turning 65. And that's every day for the next 20 years. So, you do the math, you're looking at 87, 88 million seniors between 65 and 85. But being very candid, that's not the issue. The issue here is falls and liabilities. That results in litigation. It results in readmission, where the revenue follows the patient. And it also results in star ratings being decreased for facilities. Caregiver shortages and burnout, pervasive across the industry for many reasons. Lots of documentation, a very stressful work environment. And then the third is the lack of real-time insights, a lack of intelligence as it relates to the behavior and health of your resident population. When you take a look at our solution, I use the words holistic or unified because it starts with a set of sensors that we're using. And these are contactless 4D radar sensors. And they focus on fall detection, fall mitigation, and health parameters. There's no cameras, there's no listening, there's no batteries. The second piece of this is the platform where we deliver notifications, alerts, and the insights. There's a high level of integration between our platform, which happens to be hardware agnostic, which allows us to use kind of the best of the breed on the sensor side. But the integration gives us access to a significant amount of data about the patient, medications, care plans, doctor's notes, etc. Underlying all that is Sienna AI, which is our AI model, which really leverages the data that we're collecting, running it through our intelligent models, and being able to provide the staff with insights. There's care planning that goes on daily. And whether it's a change in behavior, health, movement, medication-wise, we're able to pull all of that together and give some intelligent insights on the changing behavior that also results in a risk score. I share this because even though I refer to contactless and 4D radar, I get lots of questions about where is the sensor located, or is it truly a non-wearable? This picture illustrates, for example, the imminent bed exit, which is our fall mitigation solution. Mounts on the wall. Fall detection is mounted on the ceiling, similar to the health parameter. These devices never stop learning. They're monitoring X, Y, and Z axis, as well as your health parameters. When you look at how NtelCare is truly solving this problem, and I'll go back to using holistic because I think it's a differentiation as we look at the competition here. But 24/7 monitoring, the AI is constantly collecting data, begins to take on a mind of a clinician with much more objective output. And then obviously being able to present that information to your care staff. You'll notice in that last picture, and here's a little better diagram of it, the dashboard or the platform. I didn't mention with our devices, we're also tracking presence. So, whether that individual is in bed, in the bathroom, in a chair, even when there is a caregiver giving assistance, not only do we know that there's a caregiver, we know what the response time was, and we know which caregiver entered the room and how long it took them to respond. So a lot of important data. You'll notice on this slide, on the little tiles, we also represent the health parameters right along with the overall presence. Obviously, the integration, as I mentioned earlier, is quite important for us getting access to other health and behavior data that allows us to use it to be much more predictive. One of the things I mentioned earlier about the insights is a score. We use real world data combined with health condition scores and what we refer to as dynamic activity score. This is, we have filed a couple patents around this. Those are pending. But what we're able to do is take this data from our sensors, as well as the data we're collecting, and provide for the staff, a risk score, and that's updated real time. So when they're doing turnovers from shift to shift, they're getting a sense of things that may have changed. And that can be influenced by the number of trips to the bathroom. It could be the number of hours they slept. There's a variety of factors, changes in their gait. Okay. So again, you can begin to see how this data becomes extremely valuable to the care staff. And in fact, it's something they're looking for. They're there because they care, and that's their role. And getting more intelligent data is what they're after. In terms of the market opportunity, there's over 60,000 facilities. And again, I'm referring to assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing in the US alone. Our average client revenue is about $138,000 a year. Okay, 1% of the market opportunity results in about a $35 million in ARR. In terms of the business model, you want to know how we're making money. Well, it's from a variety of revenue paths. And we've had some pretty significant discussions with not only our customers, but other folks in the pipeline, as well as the insurance carriers. Talking to them, they would call this company purely risk management because of the impact we're having, not only on the resident, but also on the community. Our revenue comes from Medicare reimbursement, and that's primarily in the skilled nursing. The operational efficiency, these folks are spending $500,000 or several $1 million a month in overtime with charting. It's the biggest reason why you have turnover in nurses. We're automating that with our AI models. Therefore, there's significant savings. Some of that which comes to NtelCare. Reduction in liability. I mentioned insurance carriers earlier. We've had several discussions about the fact that they're adopting this type of technology reduces their risk liability. Therefore, premium costs come down. Traction. I wanted to share with you some of the folks we're doing business with, and who we're focusing on are ownership groups that own 12 to 50 different locations. In addition to paying customers, we have pilots in several of these ownership groups where you're doing pilots with 4 or 5 locations with the commitment that if you're successful, you then move across the rest of the organization. Significant pipeline. I won't spend much time here, but there's some large organizations. One of the things we're proud of is the fact that we're becoming recognized as an authoritative figure in senior care. And that's through case studies, white papers, podcasts, and webinars, where we're trying to educate these organizations how to adopt AI, how to become more predictive and enhance your level of care while mitigating risk for your community. What our customers are saying about us, they're clearly recognizing fewer falls, increased morale by having real-time data for the staff. Again, very positive in this manner. This middle slide shows that we're finding communities putting up large monitors in the hallways, obviously in the nursing stations, where they're able to get graphical and audio alerts when there's an event. So that's all being widely adopted. When you look at the competitive landscape, again, I call us holistic because what we see is there's niche players. Manufacturers of sensors tend to focus on that particular device. Okay, they're certainly not going to adopt other sensors from other manufacturers. And then you have sort of the legacy solutions, which are extremely pervasive in the industry. Cameras, pull cords, bed mats, and those are the things we're replacing today.
Okay, let's go to your fundraise ask slide.
Okay. I just wanted to quickly share our revenue models. We have under contract enough beds that result in about a 541,000 in ARR.
Cool.
Team, I'm extremely happy with the wealth and depth of our AI, as well as our operational experience with folks that have been administrators and executives in the space. When I look at our capital raise, we're raising $6 million on a convertible note. We've raised a little over 850 of that. We will finish out the first $1.5 million at the 15 max convertible note with a 20% discount, and then those that valuation will go up given the next 2 and 3 tranches.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Let's go to the panelist. George, what's your first question?
My first question is, why aren't you doing a priced round?
Why are we doing a priced round?
Aren't you doing a priced round?
No, it's a convertible note, George, with a 20% discount, which is a 12 million.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, how and so you're clearly focused on the SNF market.
Yes, sir. SNF and assisted living and memory care.
Okay, so are these mostly Medicaid patients?
No, they're both private pay in the assisted living and Medicare for the longest period of time. They're with Medicare for the first 100 days.
Okay, so are these typically people that are in rehab or people that are long-term? I mean, are you in the subacute business or are you in the SNF?
To be honest, George, almost every SNF tries to allocate about 10% of their beds to short-term stay. Those folks that are coming from the hospital, getting therapy, and then going home. The rest of it
is that your focus, or is your focus more of the long-term?
I would say all of those beds are subjected to falls, health parameter issues. So when we go in, George, there's really not a discussion that says, hey, look, we want to focus just on our short term or long term. It's about, who's mostly at risk.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Bonnie, what's your question?
Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you. I hope your voice is feeling better.
Yeah, it's okay.
I can tell that that's got to be a real frustration for you. So I have two questions. I'm going to start with the robotic humanoid question first. I assume that you're aware that over the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of humanoid robots coming into the world to take over responsibilities and jobs that some people don't want. So has your company thought of that? And if so, what's your plan for pivoting?
Well, good question, Monty. First, I'll say that we actually have a number of residential patients. These devices are becoming multifunctional. So rather than a device for fall or health parameter or bed exit, that's being combined into one. So we're now capable of shipping these devices home and they simply plug in. So it doesn't require a significant amount of installation. So the home market is not far away for us. In terms of robotics, we haven't done anything at this point, Bonnie. I think what scares me about that is the cost of, who's going to fund and pay for the higher cost of robotics in a home care market.
Right. So you'll want to do some research on what Elon Musk is doing with humanoid robots, because I think he's coming out with one that he says everybody's going to want to buy one for themselves.
Okay.
So you'll have a little mini me, maybe a big me running around. Anyway, that's another story for another day.
Yep.
Then the second question I had is I saw in your deck that you're supporting LiDAR technology instead of Bluetooth or Wi-Fi in your devices. And I don't really understand the LiDAR because the range of access to the transmitter is not that far. So
good question. So LiDAR, we do a LiDAR scan after the installation. The reason why, it takes us about 2 minutes per room. That gives us a 3D video and image of the entire facility. That allows us to go in and put in microzones. So if to limit and minimize false positives, because vibration can cause a false positive. That LiDAR scan allows us to go in and know exactly where equipment is, where it's located, and it helps us put up our microzones and setting up the arena for the radar to be more effective.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. And Steve, your question?
Sure. Thank you, Steve. Very interesting. So my question, how long have you had paying customers?
2 years. We've been around
In
about
facilities? What about in facilities?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing right now. We have customers, Steve, across all three of those: assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing. Our early adopters were our assisted living, where they're paying directly, and that's been almost 2 years.
And they've been reimbursed for, insurance is reimbursing?
Not on the assisted living, Steve. They pay directly. They go to the families. The families have been willing to pay a little extra.
Okay. Is that going to be an issue?
I don't think so. We've been quite successful when you're paying $3,000 to $10,000 or more a room, and you say, "Look, we're putting in this technology to help keep your loved one safe." $100 has not been an issue.
Okay, that's fine. What about churn?
Churn in the form of customers?
Yeah, right.
Haven't lost any. The interesting thing, Steve, you put these devices in and they're powered with a little 1.9 volt. So we put a little PSU in there. We haven't had to pull any device off the wall, and we haven't lost a customer.
Well, that's impressive. You got to mention that in your presentation. That's
okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
And last, Matt, what's your question?
Yeah, Steve, I thought that was a really compelling presentation. I want to say that you've won me over, and I provide that as the context for my question. So
Thank you, Matthew.
It seems like a lot of your value proposition that you've sold here is about compassionate care, for example, reduction of fall prevention, things like that.
Yes.
I am more interested in understanding cost savings for each of these facilities. And I think as a business owner, yes, compassionate care is a factor, but really I'm interested in understanding how will this save money or allow me to reduce these overtimes. And so I would have loved to see more focus in your pitch about a theoretical cost reduction model for a particular facility that you might come into. And then I'd also like to understand in the future how each additional facility that you add might contribute to greater margins for your company or greater revenue. So those are two outstanding things that I don't need to be answered now, but things for you to think about as you're making future pitches.
I will just share, Matthew, cost avoidance, I think, is a real strong point of our company. Reducing falls is absolutely preventing family litigation. It's also reducing readmission. If somebody falls and they have to go to a hospital, that revenue follows the patient. So not only are we keeping revenue at home, but the litigation is a big deal that we're eliminating.
All
Thank
right,
you very
great.
much.
That's the end of our time. Thanks. Great questions there, guys, on the panel. And with that, let's move to our next presenter, Aviana. Banaja, if you can launch your slides and kick off when ready.
So thank you very much, everyone. It's really nice to hear your questions. Very sharp group and fun to be around. So Aviana is transforming healthcare by using an electronic system for detecting a particular infection or a disease or whatever. And so we're really up to speed on the and we're in a very I would say, nice place because of the system that we are developing. What kind of problem are we solving? As you know, the technology that was used during COVID, COVID was just a little blue line. That technology is called lateral flow, and it's 60 years old, and it's got very poor sense. In the case of COVID, it was pretty good because the virus is such a concentration, but it can't tell you quantitatively how much virus you have. It cannot be connected. I mean, there are some attempts to connect it to health emerging technologies, but it's still an old technology trying to, keep its time up in the current system. We, however, have come up with a chip that's an AI-enabled chip with rapid results, and we want to basically capture the $10 billion point-of-care lateral flow market with our system. We're replacing that with a portable solution and a rapid solution. We call it a perfect because we're converging advances in diagnostics and semiconductor electronics. And the data we get is directly a biological reaction to electronic system. So everything we do is electronic. Ultimately, what we'd like to do is to have a reusable. It's easy to miniaturize our system, as you know. A camera was a big camera until it, and now it's all over the place. And our finances are based on disposable cartridge. Some of the characteristics of this: it's portable, it's direct and simple sample processing, very similar to COVID. There's no laboratory equipment needed. We've shown that we use very small sample volume. Electronics is so rapid that it actually detects it very rapidly. The is made in the billions every year for the cellular communication. You've got about 20 in your cell phone. It's pennies on the dollar. Ours is a little bit bigger, but we're looking at it. We can multiplex it. It's an electronic multiplex system, which I can explain to anyone who's interested. Because we come out of the electronics industry, the seamless connection to web and ER. So these are radio chips that I'm going to demonstrate to you. We're also basing it on AI, and we generate so much data that we can use AI, increase sensitivity, and decrease the noise. We can also do cloud analytics. We're a data company, an electronic data company. GPS-enabled precision becomes really important in zoonotic diseases, cross-domain data integration, the things we're really interested in because of portability and ease of use. So I'm very pleased to say that we now have a contract with the Long Island University Accelerator. They've received money from the state of New York to build a $600 million building to bring new companies in and accelerate They provide all the staffing, and the institutional. And we'll be doing the corporate strategy and project management, and of course, clinical studies. I have in drug development, so this is something that I'd like to do. It gives us access to a university, and it's focusing on science and research now. We come out of NASA. Technology was developed for NASA for the shuttle program as a passive sensor, can work in space and also during launch conditions. We've taken this system and we've adapted it to human diagnostics successfully. What's our market opportunity? I'm a physician, so I look at places where we can make a difference rather than just go after a general market. The first product we're interested in is Lyme testing. We have already got some proof of concept data, and the technology is pretty far advanced, so we're not looking for money to do clinical validation. After we want to get into the physician's offices, so we start with a laboratory-based system, and then we get eventually to OTC. I mentioned the zoonotic diseases. We're very interested in looking at dengue, and we can talk about that if needed, but our focus right now is Lyme testing. So testing, and this is our go-to-market strategy. We're going to go after what's called a laboratory-derived test for labs. No FDA approval needed for that. Very small sample, but we need to have a quality management system, which we will put together. The direct sales to physicians and patients, we're expecting to get a small amount of money, but mostly we want to prove ourselves in the marketplace. The Lyme data is a laboratory-derived test right now, and is very poorly serviced. So we're going to make a big difference there. Growing market. Then we want to get into a lab system, and our technology, we can put the skin around our reader and sell it to the laboratories. We don't need 5K and clinical data, but we don't need a clear waiver. After that, we want to go into a clear waiver in the women's health area and beyond, and also physician pharmacy use, and that will require a clear waiver and focus on products for physicians and eventually to a direct-to-patient OTC. Why the Lyme disease is a tremendously rising incidence of Lyme. You can see here the growth in Lyme across the country. With the market size here is a little bit lower, but it is market size, and we're looking at a smaller market in the U.S. Europe is a big where you find deer and ticks is Lyme problem. So why us? The problem is currently the CDC requires a two-step method, slow turnaround and delays, and low spec with high false positive and negative. We're working with a recombinant protein we're licensing from UC, which allows us to get a very quantitative assay of Lyme and detect separate early and late disease. Results in 15 minutes with a drop of blood. Eventually, we'd like to get it out to the physicians and patients after the laboratory test. But right now, laboratories are the core of Lyme testing. So what is our competitive edge? We have a novel acoustic technology, which allows us to take this product anywhere and everywhere, really, with very little simple sample processing, and the cost of goods are low. And available right now in the market is either you have low sensitivity with the lateral flow, or you have high in cost and delay with laboratory testing. As many of you know, you at a lab, you go wait in Quest Diagnostics, it goes to him, and then it comes to you. We can do all of that, remove all of those barriers. So here's a financial snapshot with a fairly small but significant growth in the next year about the laboratory-derived test. But then when we get to the clear product, we can sell to laboratories directly. And we're already talking to some laboratories in the New York area, and we have connection to New York State through LIU, which wants to really take care of this. So we want to try and take advantage of our connections, and eventually we'll be profitable as we get into preeclampsia and women's health. We have a really good team. It's very difficult and interesting technology, so we need very specific knowledge at this point. We grow, we will get, exceed this and get people with knowledge of the market and space and so on. So it's a perfect market fit for today's care model. We eventually want to get to everywhere that we can, pharmacies, urgent care clinics, nurse home visits, and so on. And we want to service them with the products that they need. What is our capital strategy? We're doing 3 tranches to market leadership. The first is fast note with a lower valuation. As I said, the technology is pretty much done. And then after that, we want to raise about $3 to $5 million to do our clinical studies, and the 510K for the laboratory model, and then a lot for an operational company. However, I think after the second tranche, we can find strategic partners, expand into areas of their interest, other company interest, and company. Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Great presentation, Vananja. Bonnie, what's your first question?
Oh, you caught me off guard there, Hall. Okay. Well, thank you, Vanja. Vananja, I really appreciate that introduction to your product. So 2 questions for you. If you look at the receiver that you have on the back of the phone, is that just a some kind of a draft product idea, because the receiver is longer than the phone, so it can't stay on the phone? So how does it attach and how does it detach?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So currently we're using a reader. It's called a software-defined radio because it's a radar system, and it's a handheld unit. It's really small. It fits in your hand. When I started the company, the network analyzers were $25,000 and about 40 pounds. And right now they are literally handheld. They're made by a company called Copper Mountain, a very innovative company. So the first systems are going to be very simple. Handheld, connected to a computer and attached, to the sensor through a radio frequency wave. The reader actually generates radio frequency, sends it to the sensor, and then returns the data back, and we analyze the data. So the connection to the smartphone will be either Bluetooth or, through a connector, a SIM connector, and that would basically have an app on the phone, and so we can either power the reader. The reader itself can be powered by itself, and then the graphical user interface will be in the smartphone, and so they could basically read it out at that point, very similar to like a glucose monitor.
Okay, so I would recommend that you go back to the drawing that you have for the phone and the receiver. Just make sure that the receiver is lined up with the bottom of the phone if it's going to stay on, and if it's not, then explain how it's going to detach and detach. That's all.
Thank you.
And then,
appreciate that.
okay, you're welcome. And then I have another question for you, which is, again, these devices take FDA approval,
Right.
because they're right. So I didn't see that in your financials to get through FDA approval. That takes a long time. So what is your plan for having enough capital to cover your FDA approval?
Well, it's a good question, Bonnie. The amount of money needed to do a clinical study in diagnostics is very different from a clinical study for drugs. In this case, we would need to do about 500 or maybe 800 samples for the 510K. We don't need a clear waiver, and it could be done. I used to work at I know the process well. So it could be done in fact, Laboratory Investors has connected about 300 samples for us. It has to be clinically correlated with the clinical disease. And so that it's not, we can do the 500 samples in a laboratory very quickly. It's got to be done in 1 or 2 laboratories itself for the first indication. The second one, if you go to preeclampsia, yeah, that is a bigger area of, clinical trials.
So my experience is with a company called Otonexus. They do an ear monitoring tool that allows them to understand exactly what fluid is in the ear, but it's taken them over 10 years to actually get FDA approval. So your investors are going to be looking for a return on the investment, fairly quickly as you can, but just expect that it's probably going to be a 10-year
I
run
don't
for
think
you.
it's going to be. First of all, we're going to do a 510K, and a company called Corvo has already had its product analyzed by the FDA for an acoustic sensor, and so we would use that as an example. They have an expedited approval They use an acoustic sensor. It's a bulk acoustic sensor with a similar technology. So it's already been to the FDA. They know they're familiar with it. And I've done several 510Ks in diagnostics. It takes a job with your application. It's about 6 months. It's not 10 years. I know that part of it very well.
Okay, well, my experience is different, but thank you very much for your time.
Great, thanks, Bonnie. And Steve, what's your question?
Thank you, Vinaja. Very interesting. So my concern is with commercialization and the market size. So you mentioned your first target is physicians.
No, the first target is laboratories.
Oh, okay. So are you you're in discussions with the labs?
Yes. Yeah, we're in discussions with the Westchester Medical Center and some other labs in New York State. And we will start discussing. The first product is actually what's called T. As you know, Myriad was a $1 billion company just on HER2 and BRCA1. So we're going to try and get to market with an LDT, and that only takes like 40 samples.
Right.
So we can get that in 6 months. But the second one is we're going to basically sell the kit to the laboratories. And so we're already in touch with some labs, as I mentioned, and LIU has a very strong connection with Lyme Advisory Group at New York State. And so we're going to go to talk to them. We just signed the contract with LIU. So New York is an area, and Connecticut, and so is Connecticut and Massachusetts. So that's kind of where we're focused right now.
And how does the lab do this now for the Lyme, testing? What's your advantage, and how does that improve their ROI for the lab?
Yes, so the lab does it with a two-step process. So they get whatever blood sample, they do the first an ELISA, and if it's positive, they send for a Western blot. We've done some comparison studies with ELISA, and there's a lot of false positives. So there's a lot of sources. We didn't find any false positives with the recombinant protein that we have. We were able, for the early studies, 100% SNS. We hope to continue that, with a larger sample with the CDC sample. So if we continue on that process, we'll be much better than anything available right now.
Right. So as an investor looking at the total market size, it seems, limited. Versus, other diseases. I mean, with your technology, how hard would it be to go to another disease that could be done at like in an urgent care center or
it
in
won't
the
take,
ER?
For us, once the technology done, a new product, new R&D before we do the analytical studies only takes about 6 months, and we have experience doing that.
So that would be key as an investor, because I don't see that big revenue stream from just the Lyme disease. But if that's kind of your trial and your proof of concept through there, and then you inexpensively you can move to other diseases, it makes sense.
Well, Steve, one of the things we're really interested in is dengue. It's about 100 million people around the world.
Right, dengue,
and
right.
What we want to do is we actually want to test mosquitoes, the dengue in mosquitoes, and that doesn't require FDA approval. And that's something we're working with Tori in Fort Collins to try and look. They grow dengue in mosquitoes. So there are so many opportunities, and for us, it takes a little bit of resources to try and do the proof of concept, and then we can do strategic. We can do for clinical trials. If somebody wants to enter a patient into clinical trials, they need a biomarker. We can do it on the spot. I mean, there are just so many opportunities. But right now, I want to focus on getting it to market.
Do one and get it done right. I understand.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. And George, what's your question?
I'm sorry, who is that?
Let's see where George is. I think George may have stepped out. We'll catch him later when he gets back. And with that, let's thanks so much, Vinaja, for a great presentation. Let's talk to now Angiex. Paul, if you can launch your slides and kick off when ready.
Okay, thanks, Hal. In the slides. Okay, so Angiex has a very exciting story to tell. It's the story of a novel drug, entirely novel approach to cancer therapy. So we're the first drug that seeks to regress cancers by eliminating their blood supply. So we attack the blood vessels of the tumor. We shut off the supply of nutrients and oxygen to the tumor, and that potentially can shrink every tumor to the size of a pinhead. We do that by an antibody drug conjugate therapy. This is what our drug looks like on the right here. In blue is an antibody. In yellow is a conjugated drug payload. Now, it turns out that the biology that our founders discovered to attack the tumor blood vessels is also what turns on what's called the mesenchymal transition of tumor cells that enables them to invade and metastasize. And so in addition to eliminating the tumor blood supply, we're also able to kill the invasive and metastatic tumor cells. And we've also found a third mechanism of action. When we injure the tumor blood vessels, it's a very potent immune activator. So we have three ways to regress tumors. They're all novel, they're all different from the mechanisms of existing cancer drugs, and they're all potentially beneficial in a very broad range of cancer patients. And then the biology that we're exploiting is very tumor specific, and as a result, we have the potential to have minimal off-tumor effects. And so far in the clinic, that's essentially what we've observed. So we're seeing tumors shrink, and only a small set of patients has shown off-tumor drug activity. So the investment case, there's an opportunity to come in now, just before we get proof in the clinic that our drug works, and that should lead to a major value inflection. So our drug is novel, it's first in class. It's also was very carefully developed. We knew we had a tremendous opportunity and wanted to make sure we did it right, and we think we did. So we've been able to get a very strong patent moat around the design of this drug. And so we think we'll be thoroughly protected from competition. We have 12 patent families. So the next few slides get to the mechanisms of action. So this illustrates the vascular mechanism. So when we attack the tumor blood vessels, we eliminate all the small vessels within the tumor, but we also eliminate the large vessels that feed and drain the tumor. And that's like shutting off the master water valve to a house. No one inside the house can drink. It starves the tumor of nutrients and oxygen, leads to a necrosis in the middle of the tumor, and the tumor shrinks. And this method should work against any growing tumor, and it should be capable of shrinking any tumor to the size of a pinhead, which ought to render it harmless. Now, as I mentioned, in addition, tumor cells need TM4SF1, the target of our antibody, in order to invade or metastasize. So as a result, there's a very abundant population of TM4SF1 expressing tumor cells in every late-stage solid cancer patient, because all the late-stage patients have tumor cells that can invade or metastasize, and all of those have TM4SF1. So compared to the targets of other approved drugs, TM4SF1 is more highly and broadly expressed across solid cancers than any other oncology target. And then, as I mentioned, when we injure the tumor blood vessels, we make the tumor look like a fresh wound, and the immune system explores every fresh wound, assuming it may be infected with germs or other foreign entities, and it goes in and tries to clear anything foreign out. And so it has potential to recognize the cancer cells as foreign, and we can ratchet up the likelihood that it will see the cancer cells as foreign by combining our drug with immune checkpoint inhibitors. And what we found is that a small dose of our drug will take an immunologically cold tumor that doesn't respond to checkpoint inhibitors and give it a 100% immunologically warm immune profile and a approximately 70% response rate to the checkpoint inhibitors. So checkpoint inhibitors, they currently sell $50 billion per year, and they work in 12% of cancer patients. If we can indeed lift that response rate to 70%, we can save millions of lives. Those drugs are going off patent. We have a recent patent on the combination, so potential to capture a large share of that revenue. This is where we're at in the clinic. So we're now dosing patients at both 6.7 and 4.5 milligram per kilogram. We're seeing tumors shrink. And so we'll get to the gold standard of evidence of efficacy responses probably in the first quarter, but certainly in the first half next year. We're also initiating this month combinations with immune checkpoint inhibitors. So we're very close to meaningful data. Sorry, I went the wrong way. Our first indication for approval is angiosarcoma. That's a cancer for which there is currently no approved drug, and it's an extremely dangerous cancer. So the 5-year survival rate is about 6%, median overall survival about 13 months. The drugs that are used off-label to treat it don't work, so the second-line standard of care has a 5 to 9% response rate. So the bar to approval is extremely low. The unmet need is extremely high. And we can recruit patients very well. In fact, I'm working with the leading angiosarcoma patient advocacy group to prepare a webinar. And we're bringing on the top angiosarcoma centers, including MD Anderson in Houston, Dana-Farber in Boston, Washington University of St. Louis, and the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. So this slide illustrates our path to BLA approval, both our financing path, when and how much we'll be raising, and then the valuation changes that proceed as an oncology company demonstrates that its drug works in the clinic. So where we are today before the drug has been proven to work, the valuations are typically below $100 million. So here's some comparables. But as soon as you've demonstrated that you have a working drug, then the valuation jumps to at least 400 million for oncology drugs generally, and for antibody drug conjugates, often into the single-digit billions. And then once the drug is approved, then antibody drug conjugate companies have consistently been valued north of $10 billion. We become profitable about a year ahead of approval when we do a licensing agreement with a $1 billion upfront payment has been the typical size for these deals. About a year ahead of approval is when everyone will know the drug is going to be approved. And in order to get to that point, we have to raise about $150 million of capital. We want to raise that money when our valuation is north of the $400 million mark I mentioned. So right now we're just trying to maintain runway. And so we're raising a $10 million top-off financing by convertible note just to maintain our runway while we gather clinical data and solicit investors for a larger round. So this is our team. We've got top professionals in all of these functions. Our executive chair, Ian Dukes, led BD at Amgen and Merck and has been CEO of biotech companies. I'm a 4-time entrepreneur, successful in a variety of fields. I started my career as an astrophysicist. Our chief financial officer, 4-time CFO, our chief medical officer led oncology research at one of the Harvard hospitals, has done 140 trials. And our CMC team, the top ADC manufacturing leaders in the country. One led led it at Seagen and Immunomedics, and the other at Immunogen. So 3 companies where they have 7 approved ADCs, $70 billion of corporate acquisitions, and our scientific founders made the top 2 discoveries in angiogenesis. So top-off financing, as I mentioned, and I'll just say in conclusion, there's a lot of people that need our drug. We have the potential to save several million lives per year, and where you have the opportunity to come in at quite a low valuation because we're valued similarly to other oncology companies at an early stage. And the picture here is my mother. She was diagnosed with cancer at age 22 when she was pregnant with me. She died at age 33 when I was 10. I keep her picture next to my desk to remind me to work hard for all of these patients. And the one thing we need is capital that will help us get to approval quicker and save lives quicker. So I hope you'll join us, and I hope our existing shareholders get that 100 to 1,000-fold value increase and help the drug get to patients. Thank you.
Great presentation, Paul. Steve, what's your first question?
Wow. Thank you, Paul. Congratulations. I mean, it's not my area of expertise, but it sounds unbelievable. The only question I come up with, what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? Excitement, usually. Yeah, so I think, when you get to my age, it could be our age. It's not uncommon to, wake up a little early, like 3 or 4 a.m. And usually when I wake up at that time, it's thinking of, oh, there's some important work to be doing. But it's all about getting, the drug to approval quicker. What can I do to move things along faster? Sometimes it's a de-risking thought, but it's, it's not really what keeps me up. It's what gets me up, gets me
I
out of
understand.
bed. Yeah.
So, it's one of these things almost too good to be true for an investor, and also to cure cancer. What is the percent based on historically on drug development and where you are now? What percent would really take it forward? What's your odds of success?
You're talking about other drugs. So,
well, I don't know how to compare it other than go historically.
Yeah. Well, that's why our valuation is where it is. It's other investors insist that you're the same as other companies until you're not. So other drugs, antibody drug conjugates, for a long time, they had one of the worst approval rates in oncology. It was like 6% of drugs entering the clinic would get to approval. But then we had like a dozen approvals within a few years, and that led to a huge amount of deals. So I think in 2023, there was $170 billion of investments in ADC companies. The biggest one was Pfizer's $42 billion acquisition of Seagen. That was here. And AbbVie acquired Immunogen, Gilead acquired Immunomedics. Daiichi Sankyo is still independent. But recently the approval rate for ADCs has been closer to 15%. But in our case, if I go back to this, so most of the drugs fail early in the dose escalation. And in fact, no prior drug has been able to safely dose north of 6 milligram per kilogram. We're now dosing at 6.7. And 2 of the 3 patients that we've dosed have been on for 4 weeks and reported no adverse events, which is unheard of for cancer drugs, especially at efficacious doses. So in our, and I can tell you all of these patients at the low doses had adverse events. And if you give late stage cancer patients a placebo, then they'll report adverse events because their cancer is progressing and they're getting sicker and sicker. So, so it's quite an accomplishment to, and 2/3 of the patients dosed so far have no adverse events at all. But it's still early,
It's
so we don't
early.
have statistics
Yeah, right. I
yet.
get it. Thank you, Paul.
Great. And Bonnie, what's your question?
All right. Well, Paul, that was a very good presentation, and I appreciate you not hammering it through really quickly, but really focusing on each of the slides to explain it. And congratulations on your investment from Teal Capital. I think that's pretty amazing. That speaks pretty highly.
Yeah, that was helpful. So, he was our seed investor, our first investor.
Oh, was he?
And
Okay,
yeah,
great.
and so what's valuable about that is he was a patient investor.
Ah,
And so we weren't under pressure to bring a drug forward prematurely. And that's why we were able to, we actually took 5 years before we finalized our drug. And that's why we were able to get so many patents, and we were able to increase therapeutic index tenfold over what we had as a baseline, which was a drug that Pfizer had made in collaboration with our founders while they were still in academia.
so where are you actually dosing this right now? Are you in clinical trials with some of the hospitals around the United States?
Yeah, it's all US. We started with some rapid startup sites, Sarah Cannon Research in Nashville and Next Oncology in San Antonio, Texas, and Fairfax, Virginia. And then since then, we've been adding major cancer centers. So we have the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. We have Florida cancer specialists in Sarasota, Florida, so they have a large patient population. We have Washington University of St. Louis starting in a week. MD Anderson will be activated in January. They get 30% of the advanced angiosarcoma cases in the US, so they're the world's leading angiosarcoma center.
I'm sorry, which one was that again?
MD Anderson in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And then Dana-Farber Cancer Center is also joining early next year. They're a major center. And we decided to turn away some other sites, Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, just because we have a limited drug supply right now. So we'll bring them on later in development.
Okay. And so two more questions for you. One is, do you think that Teal Capital is going to invest more capital in you for a Series C?
Well, they have, but this investment was from Peter personally, not from his funds. It was from his Roth IRA. And Peter, in his personal investments, he doesn't carry companies. He helps things get started. We've had token investments from Founders Fund Growth, and Teal Bio, so the relevant funds. But they're not really therapeutics investors. They will make investments, but I would say they're in the same pool as 100 other institutional investors. We're attempting to gather the key clinical data to get past the value inflection, and we're trying to do a top-off financing from smaller investors. Just maintain runway, so we minimize dilution until we get that data.
Right. So I have a couple other questions, and I don't want to have other people not make their question time before we run out here. So I have understood over the last couple of years that there's a lot of research that cancers and tumors are actually parasites. Is this something that you have heard yourself? Do you know anything about that?
So I know some things about that. Actually, I was one of my businesses. I didn't go into my history, but I was in the natural health movement, had a health retreat and a best-selling book. And so I'm fairly familiar with alternative health things. And there's been, a lot of buzz around anti-parasitic drugs, ivermectin, fenbendazole recently. I have to say I don't really believe that. I do think parasites may have an unheralded role in promoting the initial development of cancer. So definitely sick people with inflamed disease areas, they're a lot more likely to develop cancers at the sites of inflammation. But no, I don't think, some of the claims I've seen just don't make sense. Anecdotes I've seen online just don't make sense. So, for example, fenbendazole taken orally is not supposed to uh, be able to leave the digestive tract. And, so the amount that circulates in blood is minimal. So it really shouldn't impact a solid tumor.
Okay, one last question for you then. Do you inject the drug directly into the tumor?
No, it's IV infused in the patient's arm over about 30 minutes and it finds the tumor. So so I don't have that slide in this deck. Maybe it's after, no, okay. But basically about 70% of the antigen in an adult cancer patient is in tumors. Only the other 30% is spread around the normal tissue. And the antibody, over a course of 3 or 4 days, it finds the tumor very effectively. So depending on the dose level, 20% to 60% of injected drug will go to tumors. And
okay, very
yes.
good. I appreciate those answers, Paul. Thank you very much.
Great. George Spencer had to step out. Hadley, are you able to ask any questions or no?
Sorry, you know what? I'm just driving now. I've listened to part of the presentation. I know someone else just said she had a few more questions. It might be, if she has one, I'll be back at a desk where I can probably, I'm just listening in and I can be more, I can contribute a little more to this in about 20 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm just listening in right now.
Okay. Well, we'll send you guys
Thank
the
you.
decks and we'll follow up with you later, but thanks so much. So
That's wonderful. Thank you.
great. So we are at the end of the investors sections that we have right now. And at this point, I always go around to the investors in the room and ask, which of these companies would you like more information about? Steve, if I put you on the spot there, who would you like to learn more about?
Wow. I found them all pretty interesting. With RespirAI, I'm very familiar with.
Right.
Probably, I would like to learn a little more about the Lyme disease.
All right.
Venaja.
Venaja. Okay, we'll put that down there. And then Bonnie, how about you? Which of these would you like to learn more about?
Yeah, I think Angiex is really interesting to me. I'd like to know more about where they're holding clinical trials, and see some of the data from the clinical trials. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right. We'll make introductions afterwards so everybody has each other's email. You can follow up. We'll follow up with Hadley and George and give them the decks. And I think he may be more interested in the RespirAI NtelCare because they're more in line with his tech background as well. Matt Weathergreen works with Rice and is often offering student support and resources to these projects. So if anybody's of interest in working with the university on projects, let me know. We can put you back in touch with him. He had to run to a class, but he's not an investor. But with that, that's the end of our time. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Paul, I think to meet Matthew because what we do is so unusual in engineering. You didn't have some interesting people.
I will make an introduction. I'll talk to Matthew and just have you guys follow up, and there may be something interesting there to work on. I think there's a lot of research there. I'm on the advisory board for the Rice Bioengineering Lab, and we're talking about how they're going to grow, and they've got some really great things going on there. So it's a good group to work with for sure.
And Steve, it'd be great to meet you and talk to you about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll go and wrap up for today. I want to thank all the presenters for a great presentation. I want to thank our investors for asking great questions as well. We'll be back in touch and talk about what we can do in the future together. Please let me know what I can do to help you guys with what you're doing, and we'll close it out. Was there any questions before we break for today? All right. With that, we'll go and wrap it up. Thanks so much, and we'll see you guys next time.